I would like to pay a big public thank you to you because Abby, for those who may not be aware, has been at the very heart of all the work that we've been doing in bringing 5 districts into one. And as she alluded to rather modestly, it's been a significant piece of work, but it wouldn't have happened actually without you, Abby. So I pay you a big vote of thanks on behalf of all of us in the existing 5 districts as we move into 1 district. So thank you.
Thank you, Peter. You've made me blush.
Oh, well, I'm sure it's not the first time. Okay, thank you. And I hope your internet connection will be strong enough to be able to stay with us for the rest of the meeting. Thank you. We're going to move now to our usual pattern, which is reports from the various subgroups that have been working. I'm going to turn first to James Tebbott, the chair of the new district. We have said before he was the nominated chair, but of course he is the chair now because his appointment has been ratified by conference. So I'm pleased to say we can call him the chair now. James, may I invite you to speak about the work of the Hubs and Governance Group and the staffing group, if there's anything you wish to add there as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. I think, hello everyone, lovely to see everybody. And as I begin to travel the district, there is a sense of beginning to get to see and meet more of you, and that's lovely. So it's not just the Cumbrians, but other familiar faces increasingly for me. That's really good to see you all. I think strictly, I'm still not actually the chair until we get to the stroke of midnight on the 1st of September.
Sorry, I've got it wrong.
But I'm definitely the designated chair.
Designated chair, okay.
So there's no escape now, so for you or for me, I guess. But it's lovely to be with you all. There are, in one sense, if you hear this every time, there's some familiarity. If you're new, then it's important I say I've actually got 6 points tonight, if you'll forgive me for saying that. The first is just to reassure again, as always, that some of the really important stuff for getting us established as a new district, an emerged charity, has all been underway and is in hand, and grateful to synods and district policy committees or the equivalent who passed the relevant resolutions to get us where we're going, and particularly again through the help of TCC, contacts with Charity Commission and with TMCP. So people are expecting us to be able to function from the 1st of September. Abby may wish to say a little bit more on the detail, but that's fundamentally where we're at with that. We've also, through the DPCs, approved the initial trustees. We've still got some 1 or 2 vacancies, and I'll come on to that in a moment. But it also means that right from the start of the new district, the new trustee body will be in hand and able to report to the first synod when we all meet on the 14th of September. All of that is in good stead. I've often, secondly, talked about, or representatives from the Hubs and Governance Group have talked about the populating of the structures. So the need for officers and committees and groups and networks. And if you've been following the story, you will know that that's actually taken longer than we've planned or anticipated or intended. And again, we'd want to say thank you for patience and understanding. There are a number of factors and reasons why it has taken longer, but perhaps one of the really important ones is our commitment to wanting to recruit safely and to ensure equal opportunities. And therefore, it's not a tapping on the shoulder process. It's a level playing field, encouragement that we all, if you like, go through a similar gate in order to be considered and then nominated. And recently, we've been able to make some progress with that. So a number of you who've kindly offered for various roles or offices will have been written to say, please, would you be willing to be or to do this in various ways? And when we get to the new synod, the synod will be appointing all those folk. Some of you may have offered and not yet heard, and that's because it's an ongoing process. We may just not have got there with you. And even then, there's going to be plenty more that we're going to need. But I'm wanting to reassure that the process is ongoing. And again, we've been able to confirm that, affirm that to a number of people since last we were all together. Thirdly, the next thing that then needs to happen is to pull those people and groups together. And this again is where a need for patience and a gratitude for patience needs to be expressed. We are approaching particular conveners. They are beginning to do the work of convening people. In some cases, we're waiting until we get to the start of the new district because we need the new office holder or the new employee to be in place. But we recognise that we're in that sort of risk of feeling that we've got to slip between cup and lip as we go out of our old structures and processes and into the new. There will be that sense of we're not quite there, but we will be pulling it together as we get to September, as we get into September, as we get into the autumn, recognising some things are important to pull together straight away and some things we can take a little bit longer. So I'm recognizing that really we've very much begun to enter the phase of pulling people in certain groups or for particular functions to begin to work together. In all of this, there's obviously a question sometimes of saying, well, who is it that we now relate to? And particularly when we get to the synod and the synod's been able to approve the initial district directory, there will be the names that are listed and published, and others will be available on the website when that launches. Because a natural question that's obviously been raised is, well, who should we approach about X or Y or whatever it might be about? And there may be a particular office holder or group or function that it'll then be apparent that this is the people, these are the people, this is the person that you should contact. And then there's default people to contact, your mission area lead, your deputy chair. The central administrators will be able to triage. Sometimes it'll be one of the hub leads, such as Phil Goff for Ministry and Vocations, or Heather Ferguson for Administration and Compliance, or myself for Mission Leadership. But a point that's recently been raised is that, of course, for some people, the relationship to the trustee body, the District Policy Committee, is going to change. We've had a different pattern in our different districts because some have had that pattern whereby each circuit sends a representative or two. Others, perhaps for some years, haven't been working on that basis, but have been appointing according to office or particular interest or whatever it might be. We in the new district are going to be having a group of about 15, and we're not working on the basis of a representative from each circuit. There'd be 42 if we were going to be doing that, and that would be a very large body. Although we're trying to ensure a spread across all of our mission areas. But it does mean there's a bit of a cultural change, and it'll feel a bit strange that you've not got your representative from your circuit to go to the District Policy Committee, the district trustees, to express your concerns or to have your voice. And we recognise that's a change for some people. We're trying to, again, want to reassure that in a sense there's listening ears and there's open house, and through all those ways that I've mentioned, all those people that I've mentioned, all the office holders, then it's possible to hear what's going on, to express a view, to ask a question, to express a concern, whatever it might be. And I hope that as we bed into the new structure in the new district, then confidence can grow that all is relatively well, but subject always to the necessary humility that we'll need to adjust, listen and learn and change and develop and evolve according to whatever it is that might be necessary as we go. But I wanted to acknowledge that change for some people as we pull it all together and as we enter into a new district structure. So I think I've said 4 points now. The charity stuff is in hand. We've been recruiting. Thirdly, we're going to pull together. Fourthly, we recognise some changes. Fifthly, we recognise that in particular with terms of the slip between cup and lip, there are some functions that we don't want people to be concerned about, waiting and thinking what's going to happen. We need this to be dealt with and dealt with now. And two particular areas are those of lay employment, and another would be that of property consent. In particular lay employment, where we've struggled to recruit new people into role, and some of our folk who've given enormously as district lay employment secretaries across the years are really saying we've done enough, we need to step down. We want to concentrate on trying to recruit a bit more for this area, but we're very grateful for those who've been willing to continue so that we have got transitional arrangements in place and there won't be a gap. So I want to reassure that if you have got another lay work or other employment type matter or posts that you want to raise, it will still be possible to get responses as we move out of our old district systems into the new. And similarly, and I'm confident we'll be able to pull this together a little bit more quickly, don't fear or worry that the consents process is suddenly going to stop. We will ensure this transition as we move out of August and into September. And we continue to monitor whether there are other particular areas whereby we will need to notify you through the communications. And as we get into the new district, we'll have new notices that come out and various forms of communication from the new district to replace those with which we've been familiar with in our present districts. So we will keep informing you of who it is that you need to contact. That's 5 points. And the sixth I've already flagged, but it's a specific one, i.e. we will continue to need to recruit and populate the structures. Sometimes I feel, oh gosh, we're sounding a bit defensive because we're wanting more people to come and support the district. But remember, one of the objectives, one of the purposes of the district is actually that in the end, we are releasing people from running some of the structures and holding some of the offices and attending some of the groups that people have faithfully been doing across these many years. We are actually wanting fewer people to run the district to release energy and time and focus for local ministry and mission, albeit we need enough to run the new district. So we will keep on recruiting where we need to do that, but we're not trying to replace 5 with 5, but something that's rather smaller. But there's a particular thing we haven't yet succeeded in, and that is to do with the diversity roles on the DPC. Now, Peter, if it's okay, I want to slide towards staffing, but would it be possible to go quickly to Abby, because Abby's going to speak to this particular point on DPC, and then if we could come back to me for staffing, I'd be grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Abby, are you happy to pick up? Thank you.
I will, thank you. Yes, it's we felt that it was important as a group to talk about EDI within this meeting, prompted partially by an excellent question we had at the last equip session, where a gentleman asked what have been the considerations made to those of us with disabilities during the sessions. And we felt that this is such an important and fundamental thing that we needed to talk about it in depth. Now, diversity and inclusion is a lot broader than that one particular characteristic. It covers a very broad range of things. And firstly, we wanted to offer a reassurance that this is something that has been really at the core of our processes from the start. At the very start of the project, when we were putting together project plans, it was included. Inclusion, enfranchisement, making sure everybody's voices could be heard was key. Various subgroups have also considered it in depth. The comms group in particular have been really instrumental and have considered it, even to the point of, I know Tori went out to people who had colour blindness to make sure that they could read the website properly. You know, this has all been considered at every single stage. We've had people on the RRG, which is the main decision-making group, who've been explicitly there to consider EDI, and it has been fundamental to the front. It's been fundamental to all of our conversations. It's been the first thing on the agenda with most meetings after our apologies for absence. And the reason we have done this is to ensure that within our district, we have the broadest range of voices possible. Yes, our protected characteristics have come into this. So those are the ones that are named by the Equality Act, such as gender, as disability, as sexuality, as gender identity, as race, and as age. But it's also included a desire to make sure that those who are from underrepresented groups and underrepresented areas are also considered. As James said earlier, with that in mind, something that we are keen to use is the 3 possible appointments that we have to our DPC, who are for people that may come from these underrepresented groups or those people with protected characteristics. We do have some offers in that area, but we would like to have a broader slate, as we do feel that there are some particular areas that are not being fully represented, both in terms of geography as well as in terms of protected characteristics. So if you feel that this is something that you are being called to do, and please bear in mind that people saying on Zoom meetings can also be you being called to do something as well as a voice in the night, then please do reach out to us as soon as possible, ideally before the end of this week. You can email the NWED email address, which hopefully Jill or Tori will be able to put in the chat comments. So, and this can be as well as a protected characteristic. If you feel that, for example, you live on an inner city estate and you've experienced deep poverty and you feel that is a voice that needs to be heard, be in touch. If you live in a rural area where you can hardly ever get the internet and that becomes exclusionary, please get in touch, because all of your voices are important across all areas. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm assuming the spotlight will come back again. It's very weird when we're the thank you and when we're the one who's spotted. Thank you very much, Abby. Thank you for allowing me to have quite a long time in Hudson Governance just to sort of close out where we're at. But whilst Abby was speaking, a question came in, which was to say, picking up that point about who's our trustee in the way that circuits may have had their particular person on the DPC. Just to be clear, in every mission area, there will be one either ordained or a lay worker who has a ministerial pastoral type of role, and there will be one lay person. So you'll have 2 people, and that will be obvious from the list as to why those people or who they are representing are on the trustee body. So each mission area, you will have 2 people that you could particularly go to if you do have a particular concern. I appreciate it's not the same as having somebody in your own circuit, but nonetheless you will, I hope, have a sense of connection and identity with those who are representing you from your mission area, from your part in the new district. Then moving on to staffing, if I may, I'm presenting this simply because the work of the staffing group has actually been done, or it's been handed over into other places now. We express particular gratitude to Andrew Lunn, who's now retired, who chaired that group, and to others who've worked on it. There's been two aspects to this for staffing in particular. One has been transferring our existing employees into the new structure for the necessary consultations under what's called the TUPE, Transfer of Undertaking Protection of Employment Regulations, and all the provisions that go with that to ensure that people are fairly treated. And we've endeavoured to apply that to folk and had conversations with them, and updated contracts are all virtually now issued. And we're virtually at the end of that. And we hope, therefore, that our employees will smoothly come over into the new structure and all will be well. Again, with gratitude to those who've been doing that work, not least the support we've received from TCC, but to the employees themselves, who at times have had to be patient as this has taken a lengthy time to undertake this quite complex process. So again, it's a reassurance that that is all virtually finished and complete, and all has been properly undertaken. The other aspect has been that of recruiting new post holders in various ways, district leadership, 2 new safeguarding officers, Jack Watts, who'll be covering Lancashire, and Julie Patterson, who'll be covering Cumbria alongside our 2 continuing DSOs. I should say on district leadership, we've got a number of the mission area leads, deputy chairs with us tonight, Peter. If we have time later, we might just ask them to introduce themselves so people get a sense of them. I know that some are away or can't be with us, but some are with us in the room tonight. That would be good. There were 2 outstanding. One is to do with digital enabling. Peter's been chairing that recruitment group, so he himself may wish to or may not wish to speak to it. There's one we're just leaving over, and that is we need to recruit 1 more district property secretary, and we're just landing in the new district, and then we're going to pick that up. I think that's all I need to say about staffing, unless anybody feels that I have missed anything. Thank you again, everybody, for listening. Thank you.
James, thank you very much indeed. And I think you've described the tip of a very large iceberg. Thank you for all the work that you and the groups that you've been part of have been doing. There's a massive amount of work going on. And I hope you know that there are many people in the district praying for you and the other members of the team as they come into post on the 1st of September. So I'm sure I speak for everybody when I say that we're all praying for you all, and thank you for everything you've done. Thank you. Just before we go on this, there's quite a lot of information already. If you feel like there's a comment that you've got, or you'd like to put a question to us, please do put something in the chat while the presentations are happening. We've had 1 question already so far, and we'd welcome lots more if you feel there's something you'd like to ask. Okay, thank you. We're going to move on now to finance, and Rob Matthews is going to speak to us on behalf of the finance subgroup. Rob, good evening. Thank you for speaking to us this evening. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, on behalf of the finance subgroup, we report as follows. The work is currently focused on the detailed preparation of the changes for the 31st of August, including moving of staff to a single payroll, organising circuit CFB mandates to pay district assessments, closing the books of each district quickly, as at the 31st of August, to help establish the opening position of the new district, consolidating bank accounts, including moving numerous standing orders and direct debits, and getting new signatories in place for the start of September, and dealing with TMCP, including transfers of DAF funds and other trusts, and also consolidating insurances and various other agreements. So a busy time, and some things that may not have to be done by the 31st of August, but quite a number of things that clearly are either time critical or need to be completed very close there too. And the finance group, made up of existing district treasurers, and with the help and support of TCC and Chris and Gary in particular, we've been making good progress, and I think we're where we need to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Rob, and thanks again to the finance group for all the work that they've been doing in helping us come together. At this point, we'd normally have Phil Goff talking about the mission areas. We're going to have one of our recently appointed mission area leads, Alan Bradley, speak to us about a particular project that he's been working on a bit later in the meeting. So I think we'll move on now and ask Carolyn Huddersall to speak on behalf of the property group. Hello, Carolyn. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I don't know how many of you have been to previous equip sessions. There's probably not a lot new if you've been before, but if you haven't been before, then it's all new, isn't it? So really, just to bring you up to date, the property subgroup is made up of the current district property secretaries across the districts. We've been looking just at district property. Anything that is circuit stays within circuits, but anything that's district has come under our remit. And in particular, we've been looking at manses. Of the 5 manses that were already in the districts, 2 of them are going to be in continued use. 1 of them is going to be leased to a circuit, and the other 2, Liverpool and Manchester and Stockport manses, will be vacated. And in fact, 1 of them already has. Manchester and Stockport is empty. And those are both going to be sold. So we're in the process now of trying to get those consents through, to get evaluations done, and to get them on the market and get those funds into the new district funds. As James said earlier, we are looking at how the consents process will work and to make sure that that is a smooth transition. And please, if you're in a circuit and you're midway through a project, don't panic. It's not going to disappear, or you're not going to have to start all over again. Those things will transfer. James also mentioned that we are still to appoint a new district property secretary, so that will be something that will be one of the first things done as part of the new district. We've identified 1 place as a district office. We need to have, for the Charity Commission's benefit, and also for other reasons, it's helpful to have a postal address. And so that will be, the district office will be at Central Methodist Church in Preston. It's not going to be an office like a resource centre or a place where people can come to have meetings. It more or less just literally is a postal address. And one of the district administrators will be working from there part-time in the future. And really, all I wanted to say then is a big thank you to everybody who's been part of the property subgroup, who have brought their expertise, their knowledge, their experience, and it couldn't have been done without that extra help. So thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. That's all very good to hear. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, I'm now going to give a report on behalf of the communications subgroup, which I've been part of since the start of the process. James had 6 points. I think I've got 4. So really, just to say that if you'd like to know a bit more about the mission area leads, you may be aware that there's a full set of videos, video interviews with each of the mission area leads on YouTube. You can search for them and you'll find them through the North West England district. And they're really interesting. Give us a good picture of who our recently appointed mission area leads are. So I encourage you, if you haven't looked at them, they're very interesting, very profound, very funny in parts as well, which is great. So please do look at them if you haven't seen them. We put the North West England District Communication email address in the chat. That's the main way for people to get in touch with us, and we monitor that very frequently. We do try to reply and acknowledge things very quickly, just so that people know that we've received. Sometimes we don't know the answer to the question we're being asked, but if we don't, we'll say that and we will get an answer. So please use that email address. If there's a question that you'd like to ask and you don't know where to start, please start with us and we'll get you an answer. And we'll direct your question to the right person. As James mentioned earlier, one of the remaining posts that we're filling in the new district is for the role of digital enabler. And I'm pleased to say that we had 19 applications for that post. We're interviewing 3 people. It was going to be 4, but one of the 4 has since found a job, a different job that he's taken. So we're interviewing 3 people on the 11th of September, and I'm confident we'll make a very good appointment there. So that's going to be an important post, working alongside Tori Allen as the communications officer. And finally, from me, in case you're wondering about the website, the new North West England District website, we hope to launch that in the first week in September. It's looking really good. So we will announce that when it's ready to go, and obviously welcome comments and feedback on that. So please do look out for that. I was talking about Tori, and I'm now going to hand over to you, Tori, to talk about the admin and IT subgroup, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter, and good evening, everyone. So yes, firstly, before I go on to admin and IT, Peter did just then mention my really exciting news, which is that I'm going to be the communications officer for the new district. I'm absolutely delighted about this. I can't wait to get stuck in and to work with you all and really kind of share all the amazing things that are already going on in our areas. I've got such a passion for communications. So yeah, really looking forward to September. In terms of admin and IT, I've been involved with this group for the past few months, sort of as a link over to the communications group. The big shout out here has got to go to the volunteers that make up that group, and especially to Jill Orrell, who's done an absolutely wonderful job of chairing that group and coordinating us all. So thank you so much, Jill. I know you're here this evening. We've now set up Microsoft 365 for the new district. So every staff member has been assigned an email address, and we're also working on a new phone system being set up. So details will come to you in due course about that through your district administrators, about what the phone number will be and how you can get in touch with all of us. The IT preparations for Synod is going really well so that it can be live streamed. There's a specific group that have been set up to work on that, and all of that is on target and going really well. And the final thing from me to say is that the launch event that's happening on the 31st of August is also going to be live streamed. There's a link for that that's been set up on YouTube, and we hope to circulate that towards the start of next week so that you will have that in good time. I will also in a moment include the link in the chat to the website where you can book your ticket if you've not done so already. We still have plenty of seats left, so please do that if you haven't done so yet. I think that's all from me, Peter. Very short and sweet today. Thank you.
Thank you, Tori, and congratulations on your appointment. I know you'll do an absolutely fantastic job as communications officer. For those of you who don't know, Tori, for the last few years, has been the communications officer for the Manchester and Stockport district. So we wish you well in your new appointment, Tori. Thank you very much. You were talking about the launch event, the launch service there, Tori. I can tell everybody that we've very nearly 400 tickets have been taken for that. The Victoria Hall at Bolton is a very large place, so there are another 700 to go. So if you haven't booked your ticket already, please do so. I think that the link has just popped up in the chat there. It's a very easy thing to do. You'll get a reserved seat and more information to follow about that. And whilst we're talking about the launch service, we will be live streaming that for those who can't attend in person, and we'll be circulating the link for that very shortly. So we hope that many people will be there in person, but if you can't be there in person, do please join us online if you can. Okay, thank you very much. I mentioned earlier about the mission areas, and we have, I think, 2 of our mission area leads here tonight. I'm now going to ask Alan Bradley, one of them, to speak to us. Well, firstly, to introduce yourself, if I may ask you, Alan, but then also to talk specifically, I think, about a mission project that you've been involved with recently. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Peter. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Bradley. I'm going to be a mission area lead for the Greater Manchester Plus area, trying to get the wording quite right for the new district. But excited and also a little bit of trepidation around that as well. Lots of people keep asking, so what will be that you and Katie and David and Carolyn and Sharon will be doing. And in some ways, it's, I suppose, more design by doing. It's working it out as we respond to the needs of the circuits. I think Abby was absolutely right in her opening devotions. It's about relationships, it's about team, and we are here primarily to serve the circuits. Indeed, the whole district is to serve the circuits in their mission. We have the helpful title of missionary lead and mission in our job description, and that makes it a lot easier for us that everything that we do is through that lens of mission. But indeed, for the whole district team, as we come together and as we launch this new district, everything that we do is to enable the mission of God through our circuits, through our churches, through our projects in this Northwest area. So I'm really excited, and I'm excited to see what God does through that. But Phil asked me just to share a story with you, and some of you will have heard that we hosted as a district the Methodist Garden this year at the Royal Horticultural Society Tatton Flower Festival, and we had a garden designed by Oliver Pike, and Ollie designed a garden on the theme that we give him, which was, "This garden isn't finished without you." And during the Tatton week, a team from around the district, primarily from Knutsford where I am, but also from around the district, came together to host that garden and to welcome people. And we welcomed the great and the good. We had Gardener's World there. We had the president of conference there. But we also welcomed some from our district, but also many, many others who would never come in contact with the church. I got asked, was this the right place for the church to be? And it felt like, well, we're linking back to Wesley and field preaching, because we were able to stand there alongside people and just admire and look at the garden and begin a conversation. And it felt to me like a really good example of what mission is, that we stand alongside people and we notice God together. And many people noticed God in that place during the days that we were there. The garden itself was represented many things and spoke in many different ways. We won the Environmental Innovation Award because of the recycled materials that were used, and because the garden was going to be moved very locally to Mobberley Methodist Church. And if you weren't able to get to Tatton, you can, come September, come anytime in the next year or years to come to Mobberley Methodist Church near Knutsford, where the garden's going to be there as a well-being garden. So we were able to talk to people about the church's desire to actually work in harmony with the environment. And we were able to talk about eco-church and about the way the church was seeking to reduce its carbon footprint. And indeed, within 5 years, all of the energy that was taken to make that garden and transport it will have been sequestered back into the earth. We also were able to speak of the variety. It was a garden. This garden isn't finished without you. It was a garden of diversity. We were able to speak that all the flowers came from 5 different continents, and how everyone was part of the church. And indeed, Ollie had designed the garden on the floor plan of a Methodist church, with a communion table right at the heart where people could gather. There were 3 sculptures in the garden, 3 large wicker baskets that people would often ask us questions about. And rather than give them the answer of what inspired the sculpture, we would ask them, well, what do you think? And that led into some great conversations about people, about what was going on in their life, but also about God. And then the third thing, the final thing really, was that in the garden there were 2 large fig trees. And you don't need me to tell you about all the analogies in scripture around fig trees, going back to Micah and that promise of prosperity and peace, that everyone would sit under their own fig tree. Or indeed Jesus spotting Nathaniel under the fig tree, and that symbolism of the fig tree and being near to God. On one occasion, there were lots and lots of people around. We were simply praying for the right conversations to happen. and I noticed two ladies who were standing looking at the garden, and they looked somewhat unease. And so I went and had a chat to them and just asked them where they were from and what they were doing. And the older lady said that this was her daughter, and they were here because it was a birthday gift, but they didn't know if they should be at the garden because 3 days earlier her husband had died suddenly. And I just invited them to walk into the garden, and we walked in and we just stood under the fig tree, and there was a real sense of God's presence there. And the older lady just wept, and the younger lady laughed and smiled, because they just experienced in that moment in that garden something of God's grace and something of God's peace for them in their grief. And then after a moment, and after sharing with them, we walked out, and it felt like God had just taken them on a journey through that garden. And many of the volunteers who came and shared in the garden were really touched by it as well, and moved by the conversations that we had. But it just made me think about mission. And mission surely is about standing alongside people and noticing where God is, having those God conversations and being alongside people and with people. And I hope that as missionary leads, you will feel that we are alongside you in your churches, in the circuits, and that we might notice God together and all that God wants to do. Thank you, Peter.
Alan, thank you very much. I love that last thing you said about noticing God together. That's a lovely, lovely phrase. Thank you. And a really powerful story there, I think, and clearly made a big impact on a lot of people. Okay, thank you very much indeed. We have one of the other mission area leads here this evening, Katie Smith, who will be known to some of you, but perhaps not to everybody. And Katie, I'm just going to invite you to just say something briefly by way of introduction, if we may. Thank you, Katie.
Hello. Well, as Peter said, I'm Katie Smith. I'm based in the United Stockport Circuit. I've been here for about 4 years, and I came as a probationer, so I'm early in my ministry. But I got a bit of a nudge and a sense of, as I reflected on where my ministry might go, that this might be something worth exploring. And clearly the district team recruiting felt the same, so here I am. I'm the other half of the Greater Manchester Plus team with Alan, and like him, there's a sense of trying to get our grips with what we're doing, and a mixture of excitement and trepidation. For me, the larger district offers things that we probably no longer have the resources to do at Circuit. It offers a chance to see what's going on in different places and look at where there are synergies that can be brought together, where there are people that can support one another. And one of my particular things I'm excited about is working with Tori and thinking about the digital and how we can bring something that engages with people in new ways, as well as supporting what's already going on. So looking forward to it. Maybe in another year's time, I'll know what I'm doing.
Oh, thank you. I don't know what to say to that. Anyway, thank you very much, Katie. It's lovely to have both you and Alan with us, and we wish you well in your new appointments. And talking of new appointments, we're really pleased this evening to welcome Heather Ferguson, who's the new District Secretary for Admin and Compliance, who's taking up her post shortly. Heather's with us this evening, and Heather, may we ask you to say a few words just so you can introduce yourself as well to us, and perhaps give us a sense of what you've been doing in the past and what you hope to bring to the role. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm just chuckling at that last comment with regards to ask me in 12 months, and yes, that tickled me, did that. And in some ways, a similar feeling. Very excited to be here. I feel that I have been led on a path to come here. So this is it's a very interesting challenge that I'm sort of looking forward to. A little bit about myself. I started education way back when at Rishton Methodist Primary School, and then went on to St Wilfrid's sixth form school and sixth form, And I was actually the very first pupil ever to go from Mission Methodist to St Wilfrid's, and the only one in my particular year group that year. So it was a challenge, but happy to say that now, following that, there are numerous pupils every year that go on to that secondary school. So I feel like I created a little bit of a legacy there. Then went on to Lancaster University, where I read applied social science. So in terms of my career, early career was started at the Blackburn YMCA, where I worked with the Children's Fund on consultation and analysing the projects that the YMCA and the Children's Fund were funding. I then went on to work for Sure Start in some highly deprived areas within Blackburn. And was involved in supporting members of the community. It was a very community development approach, and it was about basically supporting the adults in those communities to learn new skills, to secure employment, and to support them in their family lives. I then went on to work at Blackburn Council, initially as a neighbourhood learning officer, and again that was all about community development. And I put my my teaching background, my PGCE, into practice there by delivering numerous sort of community development sessions and also administration for the recruitment agency. Then went on to manage a number of buildings in the borough's portfolio before then working with local authority schools. And then lastly, my most recent post has been with Star Academies, where I am currently for a couple of weeks yet, just about, where I am the head of projects. We are responsible in my particular team for setting up brand new schools, free schools, and also for dealing with academy conversions and transfers where an existing school wants to join our trust. So I feel like I bring a wealth of experience in the sort of the administration and governance compliance key areas, and I'm looking forward really to using all the skills and experience that I have sort of developed along the way over the years to support the new district. I am very big on relationship building and collaboration, and trying to instill a sense of belonging. And that will be sort of one of the key things that I will be looking at, whilst ensuring obviously things are done and they are sort of compliant and as they need to be, supporting people and actually creating that can-do attitude and very much developing a family feel to sort of how we approach our work. And I think that will probably be okay for now.
Heather, thank you very much indeed. It's lovely to have you with us and to put a face to a name, if I may say so. And some of the things you said there, I think really struck a chord with me about building relationships and supporting people. And that's, I think, very much some of the language and collaboration, very much the language we've been using as we've been creating the new district. So again, we wish you well in your new role, and we look forward to working with you. And thank you for being with us this evening. Great to have you with us. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on now to if we can get the technology to work, but fortunately I'm not in charge, so there's a good chance of that. We've got a short video from Christy Eve of the Learning Network, who's going to share a message and some thoughts with us. Tori, may we go to that now, please? Thank you.
Hello, I'm Christy Eve, and I'm really excited to be the Learning and Development Officer aligned to the new North West England district. So I'm going to be involved in some of the strategic work, but don't fret though, you are still going to see all of my colleagues who you know and love, as each of them will be linked to the various mission areas. Let me share with you who they are, which mission area they're in, and some of the work they're involved with. You don't need to make a note of it all though. Anytime you have a learning and development need, just get in touch with the person in your area and they can signpost you to someone else if needed. So let's start with Rex Seaton. who will be involved with working with the Cumbria circuits in navigating the move to become one Cumbria circuit. She's also involved in some of the ecumenical work across the county. Breck leads on the Positive Working Together programme, which helps people to understand and respond to conflict and tension well, seeking to build resilience and wisdom in working well with difference. She's a mental health first aid instructor, delivering the adult 2-day course, the half-day awareness course, and the refresher course. She also co-chairs a small group seeking to raise awareness of domestic abuse within the life of the church. Mel Clark will be linked with the Lancashire mission area and takes the lead on anything children, youth and family for the district, including The Gathering, a community that brings together children, youth and family workers for mutual support and encouragement. Mel is also involved with evangelism. Alison Hulse, who will be linked to the Liverpool Plus mission area, supports pioneers, new places for new people, and churches on the margins. She also heads up creating safer space and safeguarding training, and also works with children, youth and family workers with a particular focus on developing the 4 to 7-year-olds at 3Gen. Then we have both Jasmine Devadison and Adele McLean. They're linked to the Manchester Plus mission area. Jasmine's areas of work are around biblical literacy, especially Bible Month. Next year's Bible Month training date is going to be coming out soon. She also works with Methodist language fellowship groups. Adele leads on prayer and spirituality, the discernment course that's launching in September, and Explore, the vocation programme for people considering leadership roles in the Methodist Church. And then finally, there's myself. I'm aligned to the whole district. I lead on equality, diversity and inclusion, and the justice, dignity and solidarity strategy. I also support lay employees and line managers, and I'm involved with training for reflective supervision. Of course, the North West England district still has access to the work of the whole of the Learning Network, and anyone can attend any online event hosted by our colleagues who live in other parts of the UK. You can find out about our events on the Methodist Church website, where a new online brochure of all courses and events will be out soon, or do follow our Learning Network page on Facebook. We're aware that lots is going on in this time of change. We ran some sessions on endings and beginnings, which people found useful, and we're going to offer some more of those next term. All of us are very excited to be continuing to build relationships and work alongside everyone who's doing great things in the new district. And so we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much to Christy, who can't be with us this evening, but I hope that was a helpful exposition of who will be doing what from the Learning Network in the new North West England district.